IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we share the journey of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners. Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories. Hope you all are well and keeping safe.
We have a very exciting episode lined up for you today, where we learn more about an important place from the Indian epic of Ramayan. The Musafir Stories has become a great way for Faiza and I to learn so much more about India over the past 4 years. This year, we plan to continue to learn with purpose by streaming the Great Courses Plus, and we would like to invite you, our listeners, to join us.
The Great Courses Plus has a wonderful catalogue of video lectures across several genres, ranging from travel, history, fine arts, science, personal development, and much more.
We are currently learning more about India's rich history from award-winning professor Michael H. Fisher as a part of his lecture series aptly called A History of India. The course has some great insights into the important geographic, cultural, religious, political, and economic events that have shaped India. The course is a great introduction not just for history nerds but also for beginners like me.
And me. What's even better is that you can listen to your favorite course on any device. You can choose to listen to the course in an audio mode just like you would listen to a podcast using the Great Courses Plus app. Well, learn anytime, anywhere.
You too can now enjoy 1 month of free unlimited access to the Great Courses Plus by using the special URL thegreatcoursesplus.com/musafir.
Yes, guys, that's right. 1 month of free, unlimited access to all the courses that the Great Courses Plus offers. The URL is in the show notes section.
So go check it out now. And now on with today's episode. So with that introduction, we'd love to welcome a very, very dear listener, Shruti Pandey, to the Musafir Stories.
Hi Shruti, welcome to the Musafir Stories.
Thanks a lot, Saif and Faiza. I love your show and I was very excited to be here and discuss something with you. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to be here.
It's our pleasure. It's seriously our pleasure to have one of our listeners, and especially a listener like you who've always encouraged us, let it be on social media or with respect to our podcast. So thank you so much and welcome again.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure, and we always look forward to these episodes when we have listeners on because it always gives a completely different sense, a different viewpoint. So that way we're always looking forward to these conversations and deep conversations, right? Beyond the little conversations we continue to have on social media. So Shruti, the intro we gave was pretty short and sweet. It didn't say too much about what you do or where you are based. Why don't you speak a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay, sure. Thanks a lot. So, I am currently pursuing PhD at IMT Ghaziabad, and I'm currently in my first year. I have done my engineering from HPTI Kanpur, and in between, on and off, I've worked in data science, and my PhD is also in data science. So, I came to know about Musafir Stories, I think 1 year ago when I was surfing for some travel podcasts on Spotify, and ever since, I think I've listened each and every episode of yours, and
Oh my God.
and yeah, and so especially in the lockdown. So what happened that I was having a lot of time at my disposal while cooking or cleaning. So I just used to plug in my earphones and I used to hear every episode of yours while cooking or maybe cleaning. So that's how I've almost completed each and every episode of yours, and I especially love mountains. So at first I started and I finished all the episodes related to mountains because because I'm not that kind of a like beach person or something. But after all the mountain episodes were finished, then I was wondering what to do now. Then I started listening to beach, all the seashores and beach episodes, and I started loving them too. So I thought, yeah, maybe I should give seashores another try.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And to any of our other listeners or potential listeners, be like Shruti is all I have to say. So thank you so much, Shruti. Like I said, pleasure to have you. Now, without much more suspense, why don't you tell us where you're taking us and the listeners to today?
Yeah, so I am going to be taking you to a place called Chitrakoot. It's very famous in the North India, I suppose, but I think it would be lesser known in South India. It's a place which is continuously has been named in the Ramayana. And to clear out, there are actually two Chitrakoot. Okay, one is in Chhattisgarh, where you see that waterfall. Whenever you click on Chitrakoot and Google it out, you'll find a waterfall. But I am not going to visit that Chitrakoot. I'm going to visit the Chitrakoot, which is on the border of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. So this is the Chitrakoot region, and it's a part of the Bundelkhand area. After all the administrative units were carved out, so it's divided between Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. So part of it which lies in the Uttar Pradesh is called Karwi, but the part which is in Madhya Pradesh, that is called Chitrakoot originally. Okay, and you'll notice a very stark difference between the Chitrakoot of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. So Madhya Pradesh is actually a sort of like hilly, and it has small mountains. It's an extension of the Vindhyas, while the Chitrakoot towards the UP side is plain and it's very arid. So you'll notice the difference as soon as you cross the border, and you'll see that it's not just an administrative area, it's actually geographically different. And a few of the places which are there in Chitrakoot, half of it lies in Uttar Pradesh and half of it lies in Madhya Pradesh, like we will be discussing later when we visit the places.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for calling that out. And
perfectly laying it out so that we visually get an idea about what we are looking at.
Yeah, you're right that there is a little bit of a confusion. There's the famous Chitrakoot waterfalls in Chhattisgarh, like you called out, and then again here, the region Chitrakoot is now, the historical region of Chitrakoot, I guess, is now divided between Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. So thank you for calling that out clearly. And you are quite right in saying that the people in North India know well about Chitrakoot, and given its historic connection, which we'll speak to about more. But for typical, don't call me Madrasi, but South Indian like me, Chitrakoot was limited to Patal Lok, very recent series on Amazon. That's where I first picked up on Chitrakoot. Chitrakoot, she knows Chitrakoot, and that's where my knowledge and view of Chitrakoot ended. But I'm really looking forward to finding out about the real Chitrakoot, right? So tell us why one should visit Chitrakoot. What is in Chitrakoot and why one should visit Chitrakoot?
So Chitrakoot is actually a very special place. I'm not just saying this because I have lived there and spent a considerable amount of time of my life there. It's special in a lot of sense. So in order to understand that, I would like to elaborate a bit on how I perceive religion and spirituality, and how Chitrakoot will help you to grow over that perception. So if you look towards Hinduism, it does not have defined things. So it's a polytheistic religion, and the characteristic of any of the polytheistic religion is that we worship a lot of gods, and there are no written rules. And it is in places like these where you will understand that a religion can take many forms. So even a stone could become a god, a tree can become a god. So this is the beauty of Hinduism. In the current waves, I see a growing tendency in Chitrakoot that they are trying to turn more towards Sanatan Dharma and try to define Hinduism in a certain manner. But Hinduism is actually, I think Supreme Court had given a judgment in which it has said that Hinduism is a way of life. Right. It's not a religion per se. And then one more thing that I also want to say is about how religion started. So there is a very beautiful theory given by Ludwig Feuerbach. So he says that how religion came to being, how we worship people was that, in olden times, it was very difficult to do even simple tasks. So suppose a person who was going into the forest all alone, so they were a superhero, because coming out of forest all alone was a very big task. So gradually people started worshipping these people because they thought they are more than ordinary, they're extraordinary. And over the period of time, we started relating a lot of things. So we gave them, suppose, blue color of their body, and we gave them some superpowers or something. But that could be like figments of imagination. If you have to really relate to understand the religion properly, first try to understand how human they were, because a lot of people I see that they have kind of aversion, saying how does this happen, how can somebody do this or that, whichever extra things are shown. But try to understand their human form. And in Chitrakoot, when you come, there are a lot of places where you'll find that traces that no, they were humans, they used to perhaps live like us, they used to be like us. Although currently they have exaggerated a lot, I'll discuss more of it, but you'll understand the gist of it, that they used to live close to nature, they used to be like us. And then one more difference that I would like to point out is that in other areas which I have gone in North India, there is usually a culture of people who are trying to get in between and telling you that I can get this puja done for you, or maybe give me money and I'll help you connect to God or something like that. But in Chitrakoot, you'll find this less. There would be, in past, I think 4 or 5 years, I've seen this trend coming up that there are people sitting asking you money to, pray to God or something. Otherwise, you can just step into any place. There won't be anybody asking you. You can just go pray, look at the nature, the beauty, appreciate it, and just come back. It has been a special place in that sense for me as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I salute this clarity of thought you have.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people always struggle to find this, and that's why I guess we're dependent on, a lot of us get dependent on other people and other middlemen, like you're saying, right? Who try to take that place up. But yeah, I really appreciate this clarity of thought. And adding on a little bit more color to this, right? Like you're speaking of spirituality and religion, Chitrakoot is also like the vast amount of the places and its significance also. It arises from its connection to the Hindu epic of Ramayana, right? Would you like to speak about that as well?
So actually it is said that when Lord Ram was in exile for 14 years, he has spent almost 11 and a half years in Chitrakoot itself. Then he went on and lived in Panchvati for a while, and then he went on to Lanka to fight the Ravan and went back to Ayodhya for his coronation. But very large portion of his life was spent here. So that is why it is said that every in other places Rama guards them for at a particular hour, but in Chitrakoot Lord Rama guards it for 24 hours. So that's how deeply it is connected with Lord Rama. And Chitrakoot has been over and over again mentioned in very early scriptures like Valmiki's Ramayana, and then when Tulsidas also wrote. So the story of Tulsidas is also very interesting. So he was living his life, and one day he had a dream, or rather call it epiphany, that he should write about Ram. So he came to Chitrakoot and he used to wander at that place, on those places, and then he wrote Ramcharitmanas. So that's the story of Chitrakoot, and it has been called, Valmiki used to call it the most pious place for sages to meditate, and it's naturally very beautiful. I mean, you'll see lush green mountains, and now it's being populated, but earlier it was very sparsely populated and very beautiful. It's in the lap of nature, very dense forest, so it's also very beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, this is where Lord Ram, along with his brother Laxman and Sita, lived here for during the vast majority of that period while they were in exile. And like you added, a number of famous and popular saints and sages as well lived here, right? Like Sage Atri, his wife Sati Anasuya, And like you mentioned, the poet saints, Valmiki, Tulsidas, a lot of them lived here, right? So that way it's been like pretty whole. It can be considered as a very holy place in that regards as well. Now, in terms of when one should visit, what do you suggest is a good time to visit
for
them?
visit?
Yeah, okay. So it's actually in the Bundelkhand region, and the Tropic of Cancer is kind of near. So it gets very hot in the month of last of April, May, June, even in July and August. So these are not a good time to visit, and in January as well, because it's very cold. Other than that, in the months of February, March, and starting of April, and then perhaps towards September, October, November, perhaps December as well. These are a good months to visit Chitrakoot.
Okay, and what is the best mode of transport to get there? Would it be,
How
please
well
tell us
connected
that.
is it?
Yeah, how well connected it is, Shruti?
Yeah, so it's very well connected. So there are two airports which are nearby. One is Khajuraho, which is almost I think 140 kilometers far away, and there is
Okay.
Allahabad, which is 125 kilometers away. So it's connected to the airports, and if lockdown wasn't there, flights were to be started from Chitrakoot also. So
Oh,
yeah, so
Okay.
in
okay.
future you'll get direct connectivity to Chitrakoot as well. And if you reach Allahabad, you will find you will easily find transportation to reach Chitrakoot. It's almost 3.5 hours journey.
Okay, perfect. And I think even when we were looking up, we could see that a number of buses from even Bombay to Delhi are directly there to Chitrakoot, right?
Yes.
No, it's perfect. And with respect to stay there, I know it is like a hub of so many important spiritual places. But what do you suggest about staying in a hotel, or what options does one have when they get there? Would it be best to book it online beforehand, or which are the peak time that getting an accommodation would be difficult?
Okay, so actually the peak of Chitrakoot comes when there are holidays first. So like when people are having like 5 or 6 days of holidays, first that. And second is the time of Deepavali. Okay, so make sure
Right.
you never go there in Deepavali, because it's so crowded there that last time I think there were almost 70,000-80,000 people there in Diwali in such a
Whoa.
small place. So so there is Deepdan which happens every year, which I'll be talking of later. So a lot of people come there to give Deepdan also. That's not a good time to go. Otherwise, you can easily find accommodation there. There are a lot of dharmshalas, there are a lot of hotels, and in the last 2-3 years there have been very premium resorts which are opening up there. So if you are a person who likes to live it big, so you can
Yeah.
just go there and live in a resort or something, and they're opening up beautiful resorts there.
No, okay,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
We won't
Yeah.
judge you. You're going to visit Ram while I was in exile, but you want to live in a resort, you can do that too.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and what about how easy is it to get around the city, like to visit from one place to another? What do you suggest?
So public transportation you'll easily find there. So a lot of auto rickshaws and all there. And if you come by your personal transport, let's say car or something, it's very well connected, and roads are very good. You can easily navigate around the city.
Okay, sounds perfect.
Wonderful. So for outsider, or let's say outsider from South India, like us, what kind of itinerary or what kind of trip would you suggest?
Yeah, and how many
Shruti?
days of an itinerary do you think
Yeah.
is best?
So I guess it should be minimum 2 days, and if you have more time, you can stay there for maybe 3 or 4 days. So, but minimum, I would suggest come there for 2 days, because one day would be gone in the Char Dham journey. So the places are far off and they are very beautiful. So you would like spending time there. You won't feel like okay, I'll go and come back. So you'll feel like spending time there. So I would suggest 2 days should be minimum. Apart from that, you can stay for 3-4 days.
Okay, perfect.
Wonderful. So over to you, I guess now. Take us around Chitrakoot and tell us what the important places are. And one of the things that surprised me most, right, while I was researching for the episode as well, was the kind of backstories and the legends. Obviously, the connection to Ramayan helps, but even otherwise, just the stories, the legends, the connections
Yeah.
to the epics, etc.
And even
were
why
just mind-blowing.
seriously, and I think even why certain practices are done one way when you read about it, like, oh, because it's so beautiful. So we are like all ears. Our research about Chitrakoot, we initially
I thought it would be a
Yeah.
20-minute episode max, but happy to be proved wrong. I was happy to be proved wrong already, and really looking forward to hearing it from you as well. But where would you take us to first?
Yeah, so actually I thought about it where to start. So we would take the Kamdanath Parikrama as the starting point, and I'll start covering places away from it. Okay, so
Okay.
that will be the center, and from there we move away. So let's just first go to the Kamdanath Parikrama. So Kamdanath is actually the principal deity of Chitrakoot. So Kamta actually means a wish. Okay, so it is said that if you take if you do the parikrama around the mountain, the Kamtanath Parvat, whichever wish you have, that will be fulfilled. And it's a 5-kilometer journey. Okay, and a lot of people around Chitrakoot say that, but I have also experienced the same. Although I'm not a very religious person, that if you were to walk 5 kilometers, you'll feel it's very long and you won't be able to walk it. But when you are walking in that parikrama, you'll actually not feel that you've covered 5 kilometers. So perhaps it's the faith, or I am not sure what it is, but actually you won't feel it. So it just looks daunting that it's 5 kilometers, but you'll feel it. And then there is beautiful mountain at the center, and you move around it. So there's that. And then there are a lot of actually it's said that if you cover that parikrama, you actually cover the Char Dham, which are mandatory in Hinduism.
Right.
Okay.
It has 4 dwar as well, okay, that are in 4 directions. So it's that it's to suggest that Kamtanath protects all the 4 directions from that Parvat. And then there are very small temples there. If you have enough time, you can go there and discover more about very less talked gods in Hinduism. Okay, so it's also good, but it will take a lot of time. So perhaps I think it will take around 2.5 hours if you're walking at normal speed. If you speed it up, it will take, I think, 1.5 hours at max. So yeah.
Right, Sujit, for someone who has no idea, this is basically a journey around a mountain, and the mountain is where the main temple is situated, right?
No, it's actually not the main temple. There are a lot of small temples. On every dwar, there is one temple, and you can go and pray around. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And parikrama is basically circumambulation, as you say, right? Going around it.
Yes.
We're doing a lot of religious practices. Wonderful. Yeah, I think that's a great start. And like you said, it's a quick way of doing a Char Dham, I guess. If you can't really. But I think right off of it also, we can definitely kind of classify this if you are the religious type also. This definitely would be like a religious circuit of sorts, right? You can easily make this into a religious circuit of sorts, given the number of both religiously, spiritually, and historically significant places that are there in Chitrakoot, and especially starting off here in Kamtanath. Kamtanath. Wonderful. So, like you said, it might take anywhere between 1.5 to 2 to 3 hours. So, once you've spent some time here, where would you suggest we move on next?
Okay, so I think if you start in the morning, your parikrama would be done, and then after that, you can go to the Char Dham Yatra, or maybe you can just rest because you would have landed in the Chitrakoot the same day. You can just rest for the entire day, and in the evening there are a few places that you can visit, or you can directly leave for the Char Dham Yatra. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what you can do in the evening and go around. So suppose after parikrama you take some rest, and then in the evening you can visit the Ram Ghat. It's I guess around 2 kilometers away from the parikrama, and it is said to be the place where Lord Ram used to take a bath. And also the place where he had dispersed the remains of his father, Lord Dashrath. So in that sense, it's a very special place. And also Tulsidas wrote his Ramayana on the banks of. So the river here is called Mandakini. It's an extension and a rivulet of Ganga, but locally it's known as Mandakini. It's different from the one that flows in Uttarakhand. so they call it Mandakini. And so Tulsidas, it's written that, Chitrakoot ke ghat par bhai santan ki bheed, Tulsidas chandan ghise tilak det Raghuveer. So it's that Chitrakoot, on the banks of Chitrakoot. So there are a lot of saints who have gathered, and Tulsidas, he is basically I'm not sure what he's basically rubbing the sandalwood and anointing Raghuveer, which is Lord Ram.
Lord Ram, wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is where he's believed to have seen. I think he gets a darshan first of both Ram and Lakshman on horseback, where he kind of misses it out, and then next day again Ram appears as a kid. This is what I read, but this is where basically he encounters Lord Ram, and this is where he wrote the very famous books as well, like you said. Wonderful. But tell us a little bit more about the kind of atmosphere on Ramghat as well, right? This is, like you said, also on the banks of river Mandakini, considered a very holy river, and I think you mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned earlier that you lived in Allahabad as well, so you might be familiar with some of the ghats, right? So might be a little. So there might be some similarities, or there might be differences also. Like, what was your feeling?
Yeah, so actually, Ramghat is it has been built up as a very good bank. Okay, so there are a lot of stairs and there are a lot of shops on the side, and in the middle there is a river flowing by, and there are a lot of boatmen, and it's a custom among the boatmen to have rabbits in their boats, and they take you on for a ride, and there are rabbits playing around. So almost every boat, and they carve out their boats very beautifully. So they'll be having all the decorations and the lights. So in the night when you look at it, the boats look very beautiful. It's as if like it's a very beautiful toy floating on water. It actually appears like that. So there is that, and there are a lot of shops on the Ramghat. So if you want to buy something related to religion, like maybe beads or something, you can buy there. And one thing I think I had written about the regional folk song. So it's called Alha, and on the banks of Mandakini in the Ramghat, there would be a lot of stereo systems who would be playing religious songs, and most of them are based on Alha. So they would all sound similar, but their lyrics might be different. So so that's the way. And and one more thing about food of Chitrakoot that I would like to say is that the chutney that they give with anything, it's I think the tastiest that I've had anywhere. So whether you have a samosa or you have, let's say, even simple peanuts, if you have the roasted peanuts, with that they give the tastiest chutney. So if you go there, and the people of Chitrakoot are crazy about chutney and raita. So they'll be drinking like it's normal thing, but they would actually. So after the meal or snacks, in their plates they'll be having extra chutney and extra raita and drinking it out. So at first it used to look, I don't know, kind of different to me, but now I'm accustomed.
Oh, nice.
Okay, तो रायता फैलाने के बाद where should we go? No, I was joking. But I hear even from the visuals and the videos I could see online, right? It appears to be quite a colorful ghat, perhaps not at the scale of the ghats you see at Varanasi and other places, but definitely has that charm about it, and
has their own charm with respect to the boats that were there. Very beautiful, very colorful boats.
And I hear the aartis as well. There is the morning and evening aartis that happen that kind of add the flavor as well. Yeah.
So actually earlier they did not used to have such an aarti of such scale, but I think they are trying to imitate the Varanasi's aarti. So maybe they are coming up in a similar manner. So now at I think 7 or 7:30 there would be pujaris who would be doing the aarti in a similar manner as it happens in Varanasi. So in the evening it looks very beautiful. So I would suggest that after 6 or 6:30 you can go to Ramghat and come back by 8 or 8:30 after eating a lot of snacks there and just looking at the beautiful scenery. So that could be how you will spend your evening.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
I think that's day one, and quite a eventful day one to start off with. But continuing with the journey, right? Where would you suggest we move on for the next day's itinerary?
Yeah, so actually, day one I think was a mix. So there was a bit of walk, 5 kilometer walk, and then in the
Right.
evening it was lazy day. But day two would be a bit extensive. Okay, so we'll be visiting Hanuman Dhara at first. So if you are somebody who cannot climb a lot of stairs, I would actually ask you to refrain. But if you are someone who is young and who is fit enough, I would suggest you to go to Hanuman Dhara. Okay, it's near to Ramghat. Okay, I think it would be almost 3.5 kilometers, and there are a lot of stairs, and at the top there is Hanuman Dhara. So Dhara is actually for the spring. So nobody knows from where it comes, but actually geographically it comes. But there is this, I think, fault in the mountains from where the water comes, and it is said that after Hanumanji went to Lanka to set fire to Ravana's this garden, he came back to this spring to put down the fire which was there on his tail. Okay, so this is the legend which is associated. And if you go out in the morning, okay, let's suppose 5, maybe 4:30, until the time you'll reach at the top, the sun would be coming up. And you can see it from the top, and there is a spring by your side. It looks majestic. It's very beautiful. I know it's tiring in the morning because you just don't want to wake up and climb so many stairs. And it takes almost two. If you are fit enough, it will take 1.5 hours. But if you want to take rest in between and then go above, it's kind of 2 hours. And one more advice or maybe a word of caution that I would like to do here is that in recent times I've noticed that there are a lot of people sitting over there who would be asking money from you in the way and telling you a lot of things, but don't pay heed to them. If you don't feel that they are genuinely asking for money, please don't pay heed to that, and you can just continue climbing. So they will be throwing a lot of tantrums at you, but maybe it's their daily work. So there's that, and then you can come back and sit around and rest for around 2-3 hours, and you'll be good to go for the Char Dham Yatra.
Okay. Yeah, just to reiterate about the view from here also, right? Like you said, especially during monsoons, what I see is like it's a brilliant view with the stream flowing down on the hill beside you, and then you also have the greenery around you, right? So that way it's a great view to catch. And another way also to do it is to catch this for the sunrise, like Shruti mentioned. It's kind of adding a little bit of nature and the natural beauty to your spiritual trip as well in this way. So you can mix it up, and obviously there's the physical bit as well. There's, I think, over 500 steps that one has to scale to get here. So just be prepared for this, like Shruti said.
Yeah, but I think even when I was reading up, I got to know that there were a few options. So if someone cannot climb, I suppose there are these palan rides where palkis, those palkis that you can opt for. But 500 steps is something that you need to keep in mind when you're climbing up. But once you get there, the view is amazing, right, Shruti? Can you tell us a little more about the view and how it is?
Yeah, so actually, and one more thing I would like to add on what Faisal said. So I think they are coming up with a ropeway as well. I think the construction was going on. I guess it should be completed in a year or two. And the view, okay, so there are stairs which are coming up, and after you reach at the top, so you basically get a view of the city. And as I told you that it's not very densely populated. So it's mainly the forest, and there are some small hilltops. So at the top you'll be able to see some elevations and then lush forest, and then there would be few of the homes, and it's very beautiful. I mean, you actually need to go there and see it rather than hearing me describe it.
Yeah, true. So what next after this, Shruti, after one has climbed up and seen the beautiful views of the Hanuman Dhara and seen the Hanuman Dhara, of course, what next do you suggest?
So actually, next is there is a Char Dham Yatra. So there are 4
Okay.
places that they take you to, and I would actually suggest you to start in the morning. So that way you'll have. I mean, after you come from Hanuman Dhara and rest for 1 or 2 hours, I think you'll be good to go by 9 or 10 in the morning. And if you'll start early, you'll be able to see a lot of places and with greater amount of time and enjoy it actually. So there are actually public transportations over there which charge very less for the entire day's trip, and if you have a car with you, even better, you can go at your own pace and just travel around. The first place, I mean, I'm going to talk in order of moving away from the Kamtanath Parikrama, but the local transportation they take in another order. So I'm going to taking in my order. So the nearest one to the Parikrama is the Janki Kund. It's not that much of a special place. You can just go there and come back. It does not have a lot of things to see there. So it said that Sita ji used to take bath in there. So that's why her another name was Janki as well, because she was the daughter of King Janak. So she was also called Janaki. And Kund is like a small
pond.
pond, exactly.
Yeah, a pond.
So
Right.
Sita ji used to bath over there. It's the extension of Mandakini river only. So from Janki Kund it goes to Ramghat and onwards. So I think this place can be visited and in half an hour's time. You can go and come back in the time. Then as we move further, there is a place called Ram Darshan, which is, I think, currently my number 2 favorite place in Chitrakoot. We'll be talking of number 1 later. It's an amazing place. So before we go and talk about Ram Darshan, I would like to talk about Nanaji Deshmukh, who was awarded Bharat Ratna in the year 2019, and he is actually the person who has contributed a lot towards the development of Chitrakoot. So he established India's first rural university, which is Mahatma Gandhi Chitrakoot Gramoday Vishwavidyalaya in Chitrakoot, and my father teaches there.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
That's amazing, huh?
yeah, and he established research institute there. He established an entrepreneurship park kind of thing way back in 90s. So if you look at the kind of vision that he had, you'll understand that this was done 30-40 years ago. The things which leaders of today are not able to envision. So you can just go there and imagine the kind of work that he has done. And then there is Arogya Dham. So it's actually a place for Ayurveda and naturopathy. And apart from the medicinal services that they offer, which are excellent, you can just go there and appreciate the beauty. You'll actually, I mean, you'll see and you'll feel like, I cannot believe this was built such long ago. It's so spacious, full of lush greenery. I mean, it's very beautiful. So it's a lesser known place people usually don't visit. But if you find time, if you're staying for more than 2 days, please go to Arogya Dham. Okay, it's a 5 rupees ticket over there, but you can just go and explore around. So they have a lot of plants over there and beautiful resorts. So usually foreigners stay in those resorts because they're a bit costly, but those resorts are very beautiful. It feels like you're not in a place like Chitrakoot. It feels like you are in a very big city which has tried to imitate the Victorian architecture of that sort. It's so beautiful. So that would be about Nanaji Deshmukh, and he was the one who actually envisioned how villages can be the next superpower or the powerhouse of India. So he used to engage a lot with the nearby villages, and he developed Chitrakoot so much, and he invested so much in education. I think he understood education and health. He understood years ago that, if anybody has to develop any country, they should invest in health and education. So you can see the impact that he has done. So in front of Gramoday Vishwavidyalaya is Ram Darshan. So that's why I thought to talk of Nanaji Deshmukh before we move ahead.
That's brilliant. I think thank you for like shining the light on him as well, and kind of showing that how he's been intrinsic, right, to the development of the region, and like an important thing also, right, of important part of his vision, like you said, like villages can be the next and will be the next superpower. Like India has like over 6 lakh villages. I think that's a conservative estimate, and
much more than that.
That's perhaps the way to think about this. Like rather than try and urbanize everything, try to look at villages as the centers of power and like the centers of employment and sustenance.
Growth,
right? So brilliant. Now you were actually going to talk a little bit about you said Ram Darshan. Yeah. So go on, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so actually, you'll go to Ram Darshan. There is a ticket which is very, it's, I think 15 or 20 rupees. And as soon as you'll enter, you'll realize that, something beautiful is coming up. And it's actually very beautiful. So as you enter, so the entire story of Ramayana has been depicted in that, there's a gallery, okay? So, which you have to go around looking around. So, the entire Ramayana has been depicted in the form of some paintings, some sculptures, and some maybe wall sculptures. And the sculptures over there, so I think a lot of very fine artists of India or maybe abroad were patronized to build such an amazing piece of art. So the sculptures over there will feel very real. They have paid attention to even the minute details. I was looking, I think the last time I went, that even the squirrels which you see over there, they have also been painted exactly the way real squirrels are, even the smallest strokes of the hair. So I was just noticing last time when I went, I was actually just trying to observe everything, and I just noticed that it's so intricately designed, and the paintings would feel so real. So if you actually appreciate art and storytelling, you should go to this place, and you'll be able to see Ramayana in a new light, perhaps, because usually I think the brightest memory we all have is by the Ramayana serial. Saga. And one funny thing that I would like to tell here is, so if you go to Kamdanath Parikrama, it's very funny. So they still sell the photos of Ram, Sita as Arun Govil and Deepika.
Oh God.
Yeah, I think somehow that's like left such a strong impression on your mind. Even now, when you think of stories or you think about them going in exile, you can just remember that TV show where they are going in exile, and that sari that Sita was wearing, and how Ram and Laxman wear. So yeah, that remarkably, even after years, it has an impact even now.
Exactly. So this photos are, every time I go there and I find them, and I feel that it's been so many years since Ramayana was aired, and they still think that he's the actual Ram and she's the actual Sita. And the kind of portrayal of Lakshman, the arrogant one and always getting angry at every instant. So after I used to think that he's a very arrogant and very short-tempered kind of person, but as I read more commentaries on Ramayana and everything, I realized he's actually not the same kind of person as he was depicted in Ramayana. He was a mature person, very mature person. So this is what I came to know later. So I guess Ram Darshan would, and around the gallery there they have grown a lot of herbs which you would have only read about. So you'll find a lot of exotic plants over there on the outer side of the gallery which is there, and at the entrance there is a very large sculpture of Lord Hanuman, and I guess there was one incident where he had opened up his ribs to show the image of Sita, Lakshman and Ram to prove his loyalty towards them. So this is the one which is placed at the entrance of Ram Darshan.
Okay, interesting.
Brilliant. And in terms of how much time one can spend there, obviously depends on one's taste and in art, I guess. Yeah, interest in art, I guess. But how much time did you take?
I usually take a long time at such places, but I think on an average 1 hour is good enough.
Okay.
Yeah, 40
Okay.
minutes
And
from there.
this is what stop number 1 or stop number 2?
This is
No,
top
no,
two,
no.
right?
Actually, see, there are, four Charo. So Charodham is 4 places, but now they have started stopping. Yeah, so they have started stopping at the
Right.
Ram Darshan as well. So
Okay.
Okay.
might
It's just
become the
on road. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So it's not a part of the Char Dham.
Yes, it's not a part.
Okay, got it. So, Janki Kund, we've covered, and then on the way we've covered Ram Darshan, and then what's next stop, Shruti?
Okay, so next would be Sphatik Shila. Okay, so Sphatik in Hindi is the crystal. Okay, so the Sphatik Shila is actually a very large crystal piece of rock. Okay, and it is said that Lord Rama used to rest there. And if you go there up towards that rock where it is said that he used to rest over there, it's very soft and very bright kind of a rock. I'm not sure whether it was from the starting or after repeated use it has become like that, but it's beautiful, and the view over there is majestic. So if you sit at the piece of rock, you'll see forest across, and there would be a river flowing by your side, and on towards your back would be the mud of saints, and they would be maybe meditating or worshipping over there. So it's beautiful, and it's a very quiet and quaint place. So you can just go there and sit in a quiet place for a while if you want to. And then there are a lot of people who feed the fishes. So they feed them maybe the chana, like the grams, okay, which are available, and then you can feed them. Earlier, the water used to be very clear, but nowadays I see that the water is becoming polluted, and people don't actually pay a lot of attention. So there is a lot of algal growth. The water is not clear; it's all green. It's green, completely green. Yeah, and the fact is that even the local sadhus, they know that they won't be able to clean the river by themselves, because the dirt is coming from a very places which are very distant, but still I look at them that they try to stop the algal growth by pulling them from below. So whenever I look at them, I feel like they have such deep reverence for the place where they are living.
Right.
Yeah. And Shruti, is it the same place? I think this is the same rock, right? That also has what do you say, the Charan
footprint.
Sparsh or-
Footprint,
the
Yeah,
footprint.
exactly. So yeah, this is one thing that I wanted to talk about. So there would be Pujari sitting over there, and he will tell you that this is the place where this is Rama's foot or something. But as I told in the starting, that they were actually, if you perceive them as humans, they actually did everything which were normally done. So it is said that there was a crow named Jayant, and he was trying
Right.
to I'm not sure, steal Sita's cloth or trying to harm her. I'm forgetting that part. So
Yeah, I think it tried to peck on her feet.
Yeah.
That's hurt
exactly.
her. Yeah.
Yeah. So then he, the Lord Ram killed it with, he blinded it with his arrow. Okay. So, I mean, these are the actions that you need to notice. And then there is a huge imprint, and they have started calling that, this is how big Lord Rama's foot was. But you need to keep it grounded and understand that, they were just humans who were lazing around, and some crow disturbed her. So he basically blinded it or something. But it's actually a place where every human would like to sit and just maybe
Relax,
meditate.
yeah.
Exactly.
Wonderful. And yeah, like you said, it's a great view also of the both the forest as well as the river that passes in front of you, right? Wonderful. Now from here, where do you move on to next?
Okay. So next would be my favorite place, which I talked of. So
The
it's
number
called
one favorite.
yeah. So it's called Gupt Godavari. Okay. So there are a lot of stories in those rocks, and you'll actually enjoy it. I mean, like, it's actually the most touristy and most adventurous place out there. So there are two large caves. Okay.
Right.
So one is like, it's large, but it's not that long. It's a bit short. And the second one is narrow, and it's very long, and it is filled of water. and the water is almost I'm short in height, but it reaches almost my thighs. So
Oh.
yeah, and you get to walk in that water and then you go inside. Okay, so everybody is so excited that this is some kind of adventure. We are going inside the cave and there would be knee deep water. We'll be walking across that, and the people over there, if like one starts laughing, everybody starts laughing, and one starts chanting Ram, everybody starts chanting Ram. So that place has another kind of vibe to it. So yeah, and yeah, and there are you'll go inside. So first you'll go through that small rock, and then through the larger cave, and then to the smaller cave. Inside you'll find there's an opening. So it is said that
Okay.
Ram, Lakshman and Sita used to reside over there, and it's a huge place which is empty enough for people to live, although I'm not sure, it is actually scary. Sometimes I'm not sure how they used to live, but just imagining. And then it is actually said that it's why it is called Gupt Godavari. So it's believed that there is a huge rock under which you'll find that there is water flowing. Okay, and it is said that it just disappears among the mountains and then it re-emerges as Godavari. Okay, so
okay.
yeah, that is why it is called Gupt Godavari, and you can actually go and see that place. And the rock is very heavy, and there is just small distance, and you'll find the stream flowing by. So it also looks very beautiful. Inside, it can get a little humid because it's a cave and there is no air to pass by. So yeah, make sure that if you feel suffocation or something, please avoid going very deep inside.
And I read a couple of interesting legends of coming out of this place as well. Shruti, one of them was, I believe there's a couple of huge rocks that are shaped almost like thrones, right?
Yeah,
that was one thing that I saw. And the other thing also I saw was about this monster called Mayanka.
Yeah,
Right?
Mayank, yeah. So locally they call him the Khatkata Chor. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
That's an interesting name.
Yeah, so online I think it would be the monster Mayank, but it's locally they call it Khatkata Chor. So it said that there was this monster and he was running away with Sita's clothes. So Lakshman was very furious and he just took an arrow and inverted him and placed him towards the wall. So when you visit there, you'll actually feel like there is a figure who is like inverted and somebody who is hanging by his head. So yeah, and then you'll go inside and you'll see there is Khatkata Chor.
Oh my god.
So basically, what you're saying is inverted to the roof of the cave, right?
Yeah.
That's how it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was also very interesting, and perhaps one of the reasons why you think Lakshman is the angry and short-tempered guy, right? Because he went after this Khatkatachor, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, and then apart from these caves, there are, side by side, there are some smaller caves and rocks on which you can go and just take good photographs. So if you want to, show off on your social media, so this is the place where you need to click lots of picture. Okay. So yeah.
Like the perfect Instagram spots.
Yeah, true.
For the influencers, make note that you might want to spend some more time here. But is this one of the parts of the Char Dham, or is
Yes,
this also one of the stopovers?
Yes, so the four places are Janki Kul, Sphatik Shila, Gupt Godavari, and the fourth one is the Sati Anasuya Ashram, which we will be visiting soon. So 3 we've covered.
Right, go on.
Yeah, so the next one is Sati Anasuya Ashram. So she was the wife of Aitreya Muni, okay, and the legends are that there was a great famine over there and the saints who were meditating over there. So meditation is always done in a very quiet place, in a place which is secluded from human interference. Other people cannot interfere, and it should be having a generous climate and situation so that they do not starve because of heat or maybe cold. So in that manner, Chitrakoot was a very ideal place because it was situated among the forests. There was regular supply of water, so a lot of saints used to come here and meditate, and they still do. I mean, there are now you can find a lot of quacks over there who are just nakli gurus, but there are genuine sadhus as well who have been meditating for years, and they do not contact regular people. The ones who will be contacting you will be usually the quacks who just want to earn money. Other than that, you'll find them only in a piece of cloth, not having good enough food, or maybe having enough luxuries of life, and just meditating, and they're lost in the the bhakti of Ram. Only one or two words matter to them, Ram and Sita. So this is the kind of reverence
and these are the guys who are not even connected to the worldly aspect at all.
Correct. And then there was 10-year-old famine. So there were a lot of saints who were meditating, and Aitreya and Anusuya were one of them. So then it is said that she did meditation for 10 years, and she brought Mandakini to Chitrakoot so that there is no famine again. So this is the ashram where she used to meditate with her husband. Now it has been made a very posh place. So it has been all cemented, and a huge temple has been carved out of it. But when I was young, the temple was not that developed. It is hidden in the forest. Okay, there is a river passing by. There are a lot of birds that you'll hear chirping, and it's a very quiet and very serene place. Now with tourists, you'll find it buzzing in the peak season. However, it's among the forest, and you can feel it's a very peaceful place.
Yeah, and it's also believed that I think towards the end of their stay at Chitrakoot, right, when Ram, Sita and Laxman, they started moving towards I guess the Dandakaranya forest. That's when they made the stop over at the sage's place, and this is when Sita also took a lot of I won't necessarily say training, but advice, right, from Sati Anusuya and all of that. So that way, like you said, also adds to the point that it's a very lush green surrounding that this place has. And I think going by the visuals also, it's filled with monkeys also all around the place as you go up to the place, right?
Yeah. In fact, entire Chitrakoot is full of monkeys. So and this will be a very common sight in Chitrakoot. So actually, the kind of temper that these monkeys have is different. So they are very intelligent beings.
Yeah, monkeys. That's true. Monkeys are very smart. My mother, when she was a kid, there was this mother monkey who, I don't know, somehow there was a baby monkey that was found in my granny's house. So my mother actually had a pet monkey with her when she was young, and his name was Silky. He was there for almost 18 years with her.
Wow.
Yeah. So she keeps telling about how amazing, how intelligent monkeys are. So, and then I completely agree with you. They are very smart. They perfectly know when they see a person, how they are behaving, whether they are scared of them, they are trying to hide something. They are super smart creatures. Okay, yeah. Okay, so going back.
Back from monkey stories, I think.
So Anusuya temple.
Anusuya ashram, right? This is what it is. So having spent some time here, and you said this is the final spot of or at least the 4 of the Char Dhams, right?
Yeah.
What next would you suggest? And perhaps it's also second half of the day almost, or towards the end of the day by this time?
Yeah. I think most of the major places that you can visit in Chitrakoot are done by now. So if you have additional day, I would talk of Bharat Koop, okay, which would be, I guess, around 10 kilometers from the Kamtanath, this Parvat, okay. So in Bharat Koop, it is said that after Ram left Ayodhya, so he came towards Chitrakoot, and then Bharat was asked to become the king as Kaikai had wished. But he did not want to become the king, and he wanted Ram to be the king. So he came to Chitrakoot to plead Ram to come back to Ayodhya and become the king. So when he came, he had also brought the water from 5 rivers, so that the Rajya Abhishek, which is the anointation, the water can be used in that. But Ram declined that, I have been asked to exile, to go on an exile for 14 years. I cannot do this. I cannot go back. So what Bharat did was that he emptied this water which he had brought with him into a well, which is now known as Bharat Koop.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is said that
Interesting.
its water is very pure and very clear. I have not been there to that place in couple of years because it's a bit secluded from the city. But when I visited when I was a child, the water used to be very clear, very pure, and the atmosphere around is also very serene.
Really nice. And would you also like to, while we're at this, right? Would you also like to touch upon the Bharat Milap, because that was also something pretty interesting I read.
Yeah. So actually, when Bharat came, there was, Lakshman was with Rama, and then it said that. I'm forgetting that story. It's about tears or something. Can you please tell, Saf? I'm forgetting that story.
Yeah, I think the backstory is that basically this is after. I guess the passing away of King Dashrath, right? The father of Ram, his half brother Bharat, who was KK's son and was asked to be the successor and the king. He, obviously being the loving brother he did not want to do that, and he came to plead to Ram to come back, right? That's when he came. I think he came along with his the fourth brother as well, Shatrughan.
Yeah, Shatrughan.
And they all met, basically the place where they met, that's what is called as Bharat Milap, and I believe there's a temple also they've kind of constructed in that place. Obviously there is like some, I don't know if I should call it confusion or controversy. There's 2 or 3 of these temples apparently. It's perhaps in the area, but that's kind of the significance of this place, that Bharat actually came down, and when Ram refused to, he basically
went back
with the footwear, right? Yeah, the sandals
paduka.
or the paduka, exactly, of Ram, to place that at the throne. So just to show that Ram is still ruling. So that was the story, and basically where they met, I guess, is what
and
the
I think
Bharat Milap is.
after they met is when even Ram decided to leave Chitrakoot and move on, right?
Yeah, he performed the last rites of his
Dashrath,
father,
on Ramgarh.
Dashrath.
Yeah.
Exactly, and he was. He was really saddened by that incident, as well as Bharat going back as well. So that's when he kind of started to move on from Chitrakoot and towards Dandakaranya forest. This is obviously towards the end of the exile,
11
right?
years,
After
11 and a half
years or so.
yeah.
So that way, I found this story also pretty interesting, right?
Yeah.
It kind of connects some of the dots that we, some of us might have heard of the story while we were younger in school curriculums or through our elders or whatever. But that episode kind of also falls in place, and it was really interesting for me.
Yeah, correct.
So like that's why I said I was completely kind of surprised by I shouldn't call it a rabbit hole perhaps, but that's what it was, like story after story, connection after connection.
Yeah, and so many important
so many legends, right?
Yeah.
So that way Chitrakoot is a brilliant place. It's I think it's just a little disappointing that it's so underrated and not spoken of at all.
Yeah,
right.
that's true.
I never see this in mainstream media. I mean, in one way it might be good for the good, right? It's a pretty small space, and if you're overwhelming it perhaps doesn't have the infrastructure to handle the huge crowd of tourists, but definitely just with the kind of stories and the legends, it's such a beautiful place.
It's quite interesting. Even if you're not looking at it from a religious perspective, it has so much with respect to heritage, culture, architecture, and of course scenic beauty that Chitrakoot does offer so much. So talking a little more about with respect to culture, Shruti, the folk music is pretty popular, right? So do you want to tell us a little more about that?
Is this the one that you called out earlier,
Yeah,
Shruti,
I
played at the banks?
I talked of it. So actually, the culture as such, in Chitrakoot, it's like a mix. So they have a bit of dialects from Allahabad, a bit from Kanpur, a bit from. So there are a lot of people who live there, right? So their dialects are a mix of all the things which are spoken around. So I'm not sure whether you people have heard these dialects which we speak in North India, like Bhojpuri, Awadhi.
Yeah.
And
In movies, yes, we have.
It's limited to Rinkya ke Papa.
I think it's the poster boy of Bhojpuri songs. So in that sense, I guess it's a mix, and these dialects which I'm talking of, they're very funny. So I mean, if you look at the videos, so people have started making some local videos in some local dialects. Those are also very funny. So it does not have a unique culture of its own. It's usually borrowed from nearby regions.
Right. And I mean, being situated at the border also kind of adds to that, I guess, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Like it's
true.
pretty much a
border.
culmination of all these different cultures.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, I know you kind of added a couple of places if you have a spare day, or if you'd like to stay on and explore a little more. But are there more places, Shruti?
See, nearby there aren't, but a bit far away would be the Kalinjar Fort, I think, which has been shown in the Patalok. But that's, I think, 80 to 100 kilometers apart from Chitrakoot. And then there is Khajuraho, which is 140 kilometers apart. So in Chitrakoot specifically, like in a radius of 20 kilometers, I think these are the major places that you should be visiting. Apart from that, you can go to Kalinjar or maybe Khajuraho.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually found the Kalinjar, like you rightly mentioned, it is featured in Patalok. I don't know if Inspector Hathi Singh is being chased or he's chasing somebody. I forget, but basically, it's the beautiful fort that's shown there in that web series. But even looking up about some of the history of this place, right? The fort. Apparently, one of the very impregnable forts of, say, the central Indian region, right? This is kind of the fort that held up a lot of these attacks from invaders like Muhammad of Ghazni or Gauri and all of those guys. And that's why, like, one might be a little surprised that a lot of these other monuments and places in North India that were plundered by these invaders. But at the time, but if you think about it, like places in Bundelkhand kind of survived, right? And apparently, like, this fort might be one of the reasons because it was so impregnable that each time most of the invading forces went back from here.
And even Khajuraho, that's what when we read up, the Khajuraho, all the temples and the entire architecture, everything survived.
It wasn't plundered really, right?
The main reason being that this fort was so strong that it kept everybody away.
Quite
that's
historical.
True. That's true.
Yeah, and I think even when you look at the picture of the fort for a second, I thought it was a mountain behind behind a door, and then I was like, oh wow, that was the fort wall. It's humongous. It's huge. The whatever remains are there. Yeah.
The other interesting bit I found was, I don't know if you kind of stumbled upon this as well. The Kalinjar fort basically was ruled by, or it was occupied, it was under the power of the Bundela Rajas, the Chandela dynasty, right? The rulers of Bundelkhand. And finally, I think during the later years, one of the Bundela Rajas that kind of ruled the place was King Chhatrasal. And this same King Chhatrasal is the father of Mastani. Right, so just the connections of it also, and I mean, so I definitely urge people to look it up and just kind of explore and unearth so many of these stories. So Shruti, thank you so much for taking us around Chitrakoot and opening up like a whole new world for us, especially for the ones that had no idea about this so historically and spiritually significant place. Now Shruti, if people want to get in touch with you and learn a little bit more about Chitrakoot or your travel style, how can they do that?
So you can mail me up. My email ID is srtpan, for parrot, 22@gmail.com. Alongside, I also have a blog which is related to books, which is called The Mini Reads. So you can reach out to me there as well.
Okay, perfect. We will add all these details in the show notes section of the episode. So thank you so much, Shruti.
Thanks a lot. It was a great conversation.
Thank you, Shruti. That was yet another great episode of the Musafir Stories. If you guys like the show, please subscribe to us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Savan, Pocket Casts, Castbox, Stitcher, or any other podcasting app available on iOS or Android. Please do leave us a review on iTunes. It goes a long way in the show's discoverability. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We go by the handle The Musafir Stories. Or, if it suits you, you could email us at themusafirstories@gmail.com or visit our website at www.themusafirstories.com for more information. All of these links will be made available in the show notes section of each episode. So here's to more traveling, sharing, and inspiring. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, happy travels and goodbye.